All right. So hello everyone. I am sitting here with my friend Charyle. Am I pronouncing that right?
It's
Did I get
Charylle.
Charyle? I always
Charylle.
get that. Charyle. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. It's such a beautiful name. The first time I called her Charlie and she was like, no. But I love it. And that's part of kind of we get to this space in our world and we just want to meet new people. Charylle and I met on in a networking group, and it was so much fun because we got to talk about business and life, and then we connected outside of that group. And we've become fast friends. And one of the things that really brings us together is our gorgeous locks. Right. So we've kind of shared back and forth what we've experienced and what led us to that. And so I thought, let's just dive in. Like, tell me your story of going gray and embracing that inner beauty.
Wow. Well, if you'd asked me this a few years ago, I would have said, "Well, you're crazy. I'm never gonna do that. That's just what are you talking about?" But it's very interesting because a few years ago, and this I get this question a lot, was it COVID that made you decide to go gray? And the answer is no. I was,
Mhm.
a little bit ahead of the ball with that. But what happened is, I started when I look in the mirror, I just didn't feel like that was myself. You know, I
Okay.
I felt like, this part of me, my kids are grown now, and
Mhm.
I just started looking and my skin didn't seem to make sense or match with my hair color. So on one of my mini visits to the salon, I was talking to my hairstylist, and she was not very supportive at all.
Okay.
And she told me, well, most people are gonna they get halfway through this journey and then they change their mind, and I don't want that to happen to you. Or you have such long, pretty hair. Most people are going to want to cut it all off and
Right.
start over from a buzz cut or some sort of Z type cut. And I'm like, no. What else can we do? And so we started on this journey together, but I could tell she really wasn't into it. And she kind of in the back of her mind thought, okay, I'll give her a few months and then she's going to change her mind, and we'll be all, peas and carrots again, and everything will be fine. And we'll just go back to the every 6 weeks. I'm just going to excuse this momentary lapse in judgment and we'll just go forward. Well, it didn't happen. And uh, I didn't cut all my hair off. I just had her, slowly and steadily lighten areas so that,
Ah.
but I did have what has become affectionately known as the skunk line. Uh, and, when I'd see other women before I decided to start this journey, I was like, oh my gosh, can't she do anything with that hair? And now I'm the one, with this
Yeah.
line of demarcation. And but then I think it was also interesting. For some reason, I thought, well, I can't be the only one in the world going through this. So, I started going onto YouTube and trying to find other women who were going through this journey. And I found some incredibly gorgeous women who have decided, you know what, this silver is for me and I'm going to just rock this. And so it gave me a lot of confidence to keep going forward. So that's, kind of how it started out.
Oh, and I could honestly say ditto, except for the going to the salon part. I was coloring my own hair. And I remember standing there one day with the little bottle in hand, and I've got my gloves on and my little finger on the top, and I'm shaking it and I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at this bottle and I'm like, I think it's time to break up. I'm done. I like literally do not want to put this on my head right now.
Yeah.
And it dawned on me, and I know you live in a similar way. We're very natural minded, and we take care of what we put into our bodies and on our bodies. And it just dawned on me, here I am eating all this great food. I'm paying such close attention to eating as close to a natural source of food as possible. I make my own body lotion. I mean, I'm a bit of a hippie, and I know you know that, part of our sisterhood here. But I just thought, here I am putting this crap on my head every month or 3 weeks, depending on, how quickly things are growing. I, I'm
Yeah.
done. And at that point, I was I was kind of on a hiatus from dating, and I mean, try getting the skunk thing when you're dating. That's fun. I'll tell you some of those
Yeah.
stories. But I just decided I was done. And so
Yeah.
I fully respect that. And I remember thinking, I love to see someone with their hair like this. I mean, I look at your hair and I wish we were closer because I just want to touch it. It's so beautiful and look healthy. And you know,
Well, thank you.
yeah, when you see someone like that, and then I think of all the wisdom and the wise woman with this beautiful white hair, and then all the chakras and the white. I mean, there's such power in that, and I have always loved that. But then here I was putting that dye on my own head, and I don't know, it's something struck me as well. So I think that's a common thing. Like we get to a point where we're just done. And then I had to stay on the wagon though by looking at other people and going, okay, I can do this because after it came out so far, I was like, oh, and I did not want to go short either. So I had a very similar kind of grow out like you did.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just to touch on what you said earlier, it didn't, that also didn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
My entire life, I have been taking, hair, skin, and nail vitamins. I've
Sure.
been watching what I eat.
Yeah.
I stopped exposing my skin to the sun. I mean, there were so many things in my life that were in alignment with
Yes.
how I thought.
Yeah.
And then I was grabbing, like you said, every 3 weeks I was, if it would, every 6 weeks I'd go to the salon, but my hair was growing in part because of my good diet and my hair
Right.
supplement. And then so every 3 weeks I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I've
Yes.
got to touch up my roots.
Yeah.
So it just didn't seem to be in alignment with how I lived the rest of my life. And
Hmm.
then the other thing that I was thinking about as well is, several years ago, my sister-in-law was diagnosed with breast cancer and went through horrible,
Oh,
horrible treatment.
yeah.
And one of the things, because she was asking her doctor, well, how did I get this? What happened? And he's like, well, there might be many factors, but one thing we are starting to uh, come up with or see is the no, I'm not sure what the right word is, but the occurrence of breast cancer in women who dye their hair. And when she told me that, she's like, now, I don't know if that's really what happened in my case, but that is one of the things that her oncologist had brought up. And so again, it was that out of alignment thing. Here I am taking really good care of my body as best as I can. I'm watching what I'm eating, and
Yeah.
here I am, with the bottle and the
Yeah.
gloves and the towel and, you know,
And then the drop that gets on the rug and you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
son of a"
yeah, and trying to plan my activities around my hair
Yes.
dyeing schedule. I mean,
Oh,
talk
right.
about freeing. Once you throw all that out, it's just like, it's so freeing.
Yes.
Once you make that decision and you stick with it and you go through with it. I encourage every woman to try it.
Yes. Oh, me too. And I think, looking back and my hair feels even better now. And I know, I was starting to have some not thinning, but I was losing hair. And that wasn't just because of the hair dye. I mean, it was a stressful time and, that kind of stuff, plus being in perimenopause. That made some
Yes.
differences. But once I shored up a couple things in my diet and then really dialed in my stress or my response to stress, that helped. But then now also after about 6 months of not dyeing my hair, I started getting all these little hairs starting to grow in, and I hadn't
Yes.
realized, there possibly was something to do with that as well, the whole dyeing or putting just, a chemical concoction on my head. So who
Yes.
knows?
Right.
Who
Right.
knows?
But I think, I think it's worth exploring, and I wouldn't be
Right.
surprised if, down the road we start to make that connection more and more.
Yeah, that could very well be, especially, depending what kind of chemicals people have in that concoction. But one
Mhm.
of the biggest issues I have had since is getting used to new colors. Like
Yeah.
black is perfect, dark, like this kind of brighter, darker royal colors is working. But so many of the colors I wore before, besides black, which I've always worn a lot of,
Yeah.
um, It's hard. It was so interesting getting used to trying different colors and, you know,
Mhm.
what makes me feel washed out or not. And then sometimes I would still catch myself. I'd look in the mirror and I'd be like, wow, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I was so used to seeing me with dark hair. What was your
Yes.
hair dark before, like a dark brown or
Yeah, it was like a chestnut kind of darker,
see?
brown.
Hmm.
And but one thing I've noticed, and you might be able to say the same thing, is
Yeah.
that same little hairstylist, who is
Yeah.
gorgeous herself, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was no longer interested in someone who was not going to come in every 6 weeks.
True.
So, for someone, and I had seen her for 10 plus years, every
Wow.
6 weeks. And so now, not everything is sunshine and roses. I think you can, um, for anyone who embarks on this adventure, be prepared. If you have a hairstylist that, she's interested in people who are going to come in and drop that coin every 6 weeks. And
Serious.
I remember, going several months and then, texting her because I just wanted a trim. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm completely booked." And at the first
Wow.
time that happened, I thought, okay, well, maybe she's,
Uh-huh.
and so the second time it took 2 or 3 days for a response, and it was still, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm completely booked." So, just kind of, it's a transition. You may, the colors don't look quite the same, and
Yes.
your makeup might
Mhm.
change, the
Sure.
colors that you use for your makeup. So,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you found, like, is there a certain person or anyone in your personal space that had some resistance? Because I've had a few where I didn't expect certain people to feel a certain way, and then I've had others that were just so supportive. And it's funny, like I think we had talked at one point about the younger women, like 20s and
Yeah,
30s, which is also another reason why I decided to stop coloring, or it was an added reason. This young gal, 20 something, I was doing Krav Maga classes at that point, and this young gal came in with hair that looked exactly like yours. And, she had just spent however many hundreds of dollars to get it to look like that. And I thought, you know what? Here I am, almost 50, dyeing my hair to look like hers naturally, and now she's dyeing hers gray to look like mine, or potentially
yeah.
mine. I didn't know at that time. So that was one. But have you had some resistance from anyone or things that surprised you?
No, which was kind of surprising because I thought, well, first of all, not that I would not do it, but I should probably ask my husband what he thinks. And and he was like, "Well, okay. Well, how am I going to find you in a crowd?" It was kind of like a joke. And I said, "Well, okay. Instead of your hot brunette, you're going to have to look for your silver fox."
Whoop, whoop.
And we kind of had a laugh about it.
Awesome.
And it was
Yeah.
kind of funny. But and I have two sons, who are in their 20s. And so I thought, well, I'm just gonna throw it out there and test the waters and see what they say. And one just kind of was like, "Yeah, whatever, mom," and the other one was like, "Oh, I think it would look good," men of few words. And but that was it. But like you said, I've been in the grocery store and I've had these, young, very pretty, you
Yep.
know, college students. I live in a college
Mhm.
town of which you are very familiar.
Yes. I
And
went to college in
they,
her college town, by the way.
yep, yep, you did. Yep.
Yep.
And they'll come up to me and they say, who does your hair? How did you do
Yes.
that? And it's very, I was like, it's all natural, and so,
Right.
there is that too, which I wasn't really expecting, but it was a nice side
It
to
is.
the whole going through this journey process. So,
Yeah, I hear you. And it does make you kind of dust your shoulder off a little, like, yeah, I'm rocking it. It's good.
yep, yeah,
I found more resistance from women our age or a
oh
little
yeah,
bit older, or
yeah,
even significantly older, where they're like, oh, I could never. And I remember the first time I realized people kept using the word brave. Like, you're so brave for doing that. And I thought, oh my
yeah,
gosh, let me tell you, I am brave for a whole host of other reasons that actually matter. This does not make me brave. This is just my
right,
hair. And this is me just kind of opting out of what I finally just realized was being out of alignment. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and two, I think some of it has to do with, the money of the industry that benefits from us coloring our hair. In fact, I was halfway through this journey
Mhm.
when my oldest son was getting married. And I
Oh,
thought, oh, I'm going to be forever memorialized with this half
right. Sure.
hair.
Yes.
And so I found, a place that specialized in wedding makeup and all this kind of stuff. And I knew it was going to be a long day. I knew it was going to be a hot day. And I didn't want to bother with trying to figure out how am I going to keep my hair in place
Sure.
and my makeup that is going to look like it matches my face. So I found this place. And so I went in, I did a test drive first, and I just wanted
Okay.
a trim.
Yeah.
And so I sit down in the chair and she's like, "So are we coloring your hair today?" And I'm like, no, I just, want a test run here and explain the whole wedding thing and pictures
Oh,
and everything. And she goes, "Oh, I think you're making a huge mistake. My
oh,
mother is 77 and I will not let her go gray." And I'm thinking, her poor mom is 77 years old and is still, coming in to get her. I mean, everybody in the world who looks at this
wow.
woman probably goes, "I know that's your hair is not jet black any longer."
Yes.
And this poor woman, is being forced by her daughter, who is in that industry, again,
Mm.
to not allow her mother, who I'm sure, I mean, I don't know her, but I'm sure her mother's like, "I don't want to do this anymore."
That could very, yes. Now that's interesting in how she, said that specific language. I will not let her do that.
Yeah,
Something to kind of unpack. And for an Irish woman like me, I'd be like, "Oh, you're not going to let me? Well, let me just show you."
yeah,
But
exactly.
that's just me. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. And I wonder
Mhm.
if it is some of that construct of, we're taught from obviously the first conscious moments we have what a certain standard of quote unquote beauty is.
Mhm.
And we work so hard in the business field. We're working our way up this ladder, so to speak. We're trying to, as people say, crush the patriarchy or whatever. Like there's all this forward movement, yet we have these mindsets around aging or
Mhm.
looking like a certain age. Whereas men are considered they're distinguished or
Right.
something along those lines, or they're almost respected more as a man who is going salt and pepper. We don't
Mhm.
refer to women as salt and pepper necessarily. We say silver fox when we claim that ourselves. But I think that's another interesting part is, men get that little bit here and everyone goes, "Oh, he's looking distinguished." Whereas
Yeah.
say to us like, "Oh, you're going to touch that up?"
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Here's a card to my hairstylist.
Yes,
Maybe
right.
she can get you in.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Kind of going back to the fact that I was dating at this time, for a little bit, and then I just decided I'm just going to take time off from dating altogether, which was wonderfully cathartic and very healing.
Yeah.
I would explain to guys like, okay, here is me before, because of course it was all online, which is a whole other, like I could do a series on what I experienced in that world. But I would say to them, like, here's some pictures of me as time's gone on. This is what my physique looks like. But my hair is changing all the time now because I'm letting it grow out. I was always very upfront about that, and I had a current picture. But over, a month or two over time, it would really change. And
Yeah.
every guy I met was just great with it. Like, no problem, no big deal. Uh, but I think it's also because, I have a level of confidence and, in myself, and, I'm just as authentic as they come. And so I wonder if, I just wonder how that could affect people as well as like that shift to change.
Well, it certainly begs the question, who's making the big deal about it?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
there's all men in my life. I mean, even my dog is a male. So, that's kind of why I was, when I
Yeah.
first started to do this, I was thinking, well, maybe I should do a check-in with my husband and my sons. But none of them really thought, "Okay, whatever, mom,
Right.
whatever." And so, and in your experience too, it didn't seem to be a big deal. So who is it a big deal to?
Yeah.
Kind of makes you think.
Right. And that's a great insight, because I think it is us, and it is kind of deconstructing what we think about beauty or
Mhm.
age. And, I'm always saying to people, man, aging sure beats the alternative. Like, I am so thankful I have another day. I'm so thankful I get to grow into, my wise years. I'm
Mhm.
actually thankful for this transition of perimenopause, because I am realizing, some different strengths and being able to wrap up some stuff from the past, being able to really like look at my life and what I'm doing, and take a pause and
Yeah.
figure what's working for me and what's not. And that, that is definitely this, my routine, the way I take care of myself, the exercise I do, the exercise I no longer do because it was too much. It was
Mhm.
adding to an adrenal issue. So I think that's right on, is, who is making a big deal out of this? And definitely the beauty people, like, you know, they don't want us rebelling against that, as they think it's a rebellion. It's just no, I'm embracing who I actually am. I
Right.
love that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
You
So
should try it sometime.
right. I mean, there's so many other things they could totally sell us, but the hair
Yeah.
down is no longer one.
If they only do, right?
Yes. Although one thing is like, you see people sometimes and they have that little bit of yellow in their hair, like yours is,
Uh-huh.
I mean, mine, I use a purple shampoo and but I use it from this company called Etique, and they are out of New Zealand, or Australia, somewhere over there. And theirs is all natural, and it's got, it
Mm.
just comes in recyclable or compostable packaging. And I just love their whole brand and everything. So I use that. Do you use like a purple shampoo or anything along?
I do, not every time, but
Yes.
maybe every second or third wash, but
Sure.
I do like it a lot. And I'm so thankful to the lady who turned me on to it, because,
Okay.
that was one of my fears is, and that was one of the things that the
Nasty.
hairdresser had told me about. Well,
Mhm.
it's going to look yellow, it's going to look ugly, and I'm like, there's got to be something I can do about that.
Yeah.
That can't be what stops me from this journey. And, and again, I'm so thankful to, the technology and the openness of women our age who are just out there, and they're on YouTube, and
Yeah.
they've built entire brands around
Right.
themselves, after going through this journey, and they are just rocking it, and they are gorgeous, and they are
Yes.
wise, and they have so much to offer. And I'm just ecstatic that there's a group of us out there who are like, I'm taking charge, and here I am, and it's
Right.
working.
Right. Yes. The only regret I have is that I did not do more pictures. Yeah, because I'm not
Oh,
really a selfie person. I can't stand them.
yeah,
But I
me
wish
either.
I had done more. I think I probably have more of a time frame or a timeline from doing videos. So I should probably go back and look at some of those, and maybe do like a screenshot, because I would love to see like just how long it took. I got to a
Yeah,
point, where I let it grow to about here. And then I went to a salon and asked her to blend it a little bit and kind of lighten down here. And then I maybe have that much still that's growing out.
yeah.
Um, did you do like a good life in pictures time, or?
I did. Well, I'm like you. I can't stand the selfie thing, and
Uh-uh.
I've never liked getting my picture taken anyway. So,
Sure.
it always felt fake in some
Yeah.
way, but then, the first formal picture I have is at my son's wedding, and I'm like, okay, it's like a reverse ombre. All
Yes,
right, I can do
exactly.
that.
Yes. That was something I thought too. I love it. Or wasn't there like a country star that had her hair like that? I can't think of her name, but it was like a
Hmm.
reverse color. But yeah, I hear ya.
Yeah.
How did you do
It's
your hair
definitely
for the
very
wedding?
confusing.
Yeah, how did
Oh,
you?
I had it done. I went to the same person I was talking about earlier, about the one who wouldn't let her mother go gray no matter what she did. but the person in her stall, or the next person in the stall over,
Okay.
was really who I was there to check out, because
Ah,
she was the one who advertised, and that was her specialty, was wedding makeup and wedding hair
okay.
and stuff like that. So and she seemed to be totally cool with it, and uh, just really was able to take the 3 hours before the wedding and do I mean, it does take a long time, but my hair did not move for the rest of the day. So I didn't
Nice.
have to worry about that. So,
Okay.
as mother of the groom, there are lots of other things to worry about, but my hair and my makeup was not one of them.
Nice, nice. Did you wear it up or kind of back or?
I did what they call a half updo. So I
Uh,
had, the top part kind of in a braidy bun
okay.
concoction, and then the rest of it was long, which really,
Mm.
uh, my half grown out hair was on full display, and at the time my hair was quite a bit longer than it is right now.
Really? Wow.
So
Okay.
I had a good, 6 inches on the bottom that were this, chestnut brown kind of,
Yeah.
and then the silver. It's quite a contrast, but
It really is. Like, I think a blonde, it's a lot easier to let it grow.
oh
But I've
yeah,
I've seen some redheads do it, and that's quite a contrast. And then definitely our color, well, it was a contrast, and it
yeah,
just sometimes would catch my eye, and I think, oh, am I going to cut my hair? Because I had the same thing proposed to me, like just cut it short. And I have a
yeah,
friend who did hers real short, and I mean, she just has that stunning look to her. Like she could literally be bald, and just I don't know, everything just works. But
yeah,
I did not feel that way, and I
yeah,
thought, if I'm going to do this and I chop all my hair off, I'm I just don't think I could do it.
yeah. Well, and
Right?
that might have thrown me over the edge, because I've had long hair my entire life, and
Wow,
my
yeah.
hair, I did cut quite a bit of it off after my second son was born, because it was just two small children was too much to handle.
And
So,
hands that like to grab.
but the shortest it's ever been is
Yeah.
shoulder length, or maybe just a
Okay.
little bit shorter than that. So
Right.
that was one of the things that I had to consider, was, because I knew almost all hairstylists would tell me, well, the easiest thing to do is just cut it all off.
Right.
And but once I just, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this journey, but it's going to be my way.
Yes.
And it worked.
I love it.
And it took
Yes.
some time, and like you said, you walk by a mirror every once in a while and you're like, oh, who is that woman? Oh, it's me. But
Right. And then one time I did one of those pictures and I looked at the color in the back and I was like, gosh, that is so pretty. I wish I could see that more, because
yes,
I really love it. Like I have different colors kind of weaving in the dark. I have a little bit of
yeah,
dark brown but mostly black and a darker gray and a medium gray and a lighter gray. And
yeah,
then it's just, and some white. It's just pretty now. Like there's no
it
way I
is.
could have paid somebody to
Oh,
do what nature has decided to do for my own color. It's
yeah,
fun.
it is fun, and I am loving it. I don't regret it at all. I really don't. In fact, I probably should have. I could have. Once I started having to touch up my roots every 3 weeks,
Hmm.
at that point, if I could go back, that's probably when I would have said, okay, enough of this.
Yes, that's my take too, is like I wish I'd done it earlier. But I
Yeah.
feel like I just did it when it was the right time, and it was all pre-COVID as well. It was November of 2019. I just had that come to Jesus moment in my mirror looking and going, I don't want to do this. And then
Yeah.
it just so happens I was ahead of the COVID curve as well. And I kind of felt like, well, welcome to the party, ladies.
Yes.
We're together.
What
We may
took
be
you so long?
I'll show you the way. It's okay. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just dip your toe in. You're fine. You're fine.
Yes. Yes. And I don't know anyone in my little group of friends who had started to transition to the, letting nature take her course. I don't know anyone who's gone back to the bottle. I can say we're
Yeah.
all we're all in recovery and doing well. We love
Yeah.
it.
No, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Because who could have predicted that all of the salons would be closed, and
Right.
there would I'm just I was so thankful. I saw a friend of mine during that whole thing. We don't see each other very often, and she happened to come through, and she was very cognizant of the social distancing aspect. She takes care of her parents who are quite a bit older, and she was really that was on the top of her mind. So we met at Buffalo Park, which you probably remember
I
where that is.
do remember Buffalo
And
Park. Oh my
and
gosh.
we just decided to take a hike, and that was, and so she looks at my hair. She had just dyed hers like the day before, and she's like, I knew I was going to see you, so I had to get my roots covered and blah blah blah. And she's like, but I look at your hair, and she goes, it's turning out so well, and did you do that because of COVID? And I'm like, nope,
Nope.
it's all me.
Yeah. It was
a
just
long time ago. Yeah.
I love it. And this is making me think of that anchor woman up in Canada who just recently, Lisa LaFlame, I believe is her name. I'm not sure if that's correct, but she was basically let go because she had decided to let her hair transition to gray because during COVID she couldn't go get her, whatever touched up. And that has created a whole an interesting conversation around, you see men on in the anchor position on all the nightly news and everything, and they may be going bald, so they'll shave their head or whatever, whatever their choices are. Yet it was a big to do. Did you hear about that issue?
I did, and I actually at the time I was following. I don't think it was the same person, but I was following someone who decided to do that, and she bought a wig and wore the wig every day.
Okay.
Until her hair grew out to the point, where it with the same length. And then she did this big reveal. I don't think it was like on a national, but it was a program of some sort, but it was not like a national broadcaster type thing. And so this was all documented on YouTube. And like at the end of the show, she says something to the effect of, I've been, deceiving you all these months. This is what's really happening. And she rips the wig off, and there's her hair as it tousles out from underneath, and it was now all gray. And I thought, wow, you would never have known. You're so, that was so awesome. And but I thought that was really good. And the other thing too is I'm not going to know what the first name is, but Elon Musk's mother, who is a model. And she's now been in a couple of commercials lately, and I thought, wow, that is really awesome because she is stunning, I think. Yeah. And she's got this beautiful silver hair, and it's all high and tight, and she's very striking features. And I thought, well, good for you. No one should be able to put you on a shelf for any reason.
Right. I agree. And I think, but you kind of said it earlier, like, are we doing that to ourselves? Are we kind of judging ourselves or taking ourselves off the market, so to speak, or not applying for certain positions, or, not going to certain events because we have to touch our hair up, all of those things. And I think it's great for us to really kind of dissect what our beliefs are about ourselves, our looks, other people's looks, because I think like everything in life, we're so much harder on ourselves than we would ever be to somebody else.
Oh yeah, I agree. That's 100% true.
Yeah. So I wonder if this is one of those, and hopefully this conversation will spur some people to think about it. Or if God forbid they are having some health issues, autoimmune issues, anything where their body might be trying to, protect itself, that this is something to consider. It might be correlation more than causation, meaning like, okay, they're both, people are dyeing their hair and they're potentially being diagnosed with cancer. Are they related? Or is it just, something unrelated? But it all warrants further, I don't know, further digging into, I would say, and it really boils down to, I think, what feels right for us. If a woman wants to color her hair, go do it, enjoy it, embrace it, be thankful that you have the means to do it, the time. You can decide what color you actually want. I mean, good on you.
Yeah.
I think if I had to go to a color, Right? It's like if I had to do coloring now, I don't know what color I would choose.
Yeah, I know.
Probably purple, honestly. But I've always think
Purple's a good color. Yeah.
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 Anything that you would, kind of recommend to someone or any words of wisdom?
I would just say, you do you.
Yes.
And if you, like you just said, if you want to continue coloring your hair, go for it. I have nothing against that. But if you're toying with the idea of, letting your hair go gray or silver, or then embrace it. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of women out there who, you know, being brave, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
they put a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of support. And I wouldn't let what the current society says about women who are starting to age. I wouldn't let any of that bother them. You do you. You write your own story.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And I would say ditto to that as well, because it is, that's the place that I want to serve. And I know you serve in your community as that place that you are welcome, just however
Yeah.
you are, show up as you are. If you need time to not be showing up because you need some creativity, I just entered and exited a creativity cocoon, as I'm calling it. And it was all about me just kind of figuring out what's working for me in my business, which direction do I want to
Yeah.
go, what really feels right to me, and how can I best serve others in, in this current phase of my life. And, it's so
Mhm.
whatever people need to be, do that, be
Yeah.
that person and embrace
Yeah. As long as you're your authentic self, and you're coming from a place, not only loving other people and allowing them to be their authentic selves, but coming from a place of love and service. I don't think you can ever go wrong
I don't
if you do
either.
that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the beauty of being in my 50s. I'm going to be 51 in not even a month. But being at
Oh, happy birthday.
yeah. So it's like I find that I am just being more of who I am. I didn't realize
Mhm.
before how much I was kind of holding back or editing for public consumption. And nothing, it's nothing wildly cataclysmic or shocking, but I just realized I was not as true to myself before. And now being at this phase of my life, I don't know how not to be true to myself. Does that
Yeah,
make sense? Does that kind of make sense?
totally.
Okay.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm loving it, and I look forward to continuing to evolve and unfold and examine my own thoughts, my own beliefs as I, continue down this path of being alive and being so graciously able to age. I'm
Mhm.
not fighting it, I'm embracing it.
Yeah,
I love Yeah. Well, thank you
and
so
isn't
much.
it funny that it took us this long? You know,
Right.
I should have done this at 25. Who am I?
Right. I know. And it is funny. Like I remember people, listening to conversations or in the self-development or, all that that space and thinking, wow, okay, someday I'll feel more comfortable in my own skin. People
Yeah.
would tell me these certain things, they'd give advice. It was always unsolicited because when we're in our 20s, we think we're just fine and we're not going to be like them and we're not going to have regrets or whatever it may be.
Uh-huh.
We always do. But that I think is also part of this beauty of evolution. So I love having conversations like this. Thank you for just being open to recording it. And, we'll put this in our community and just let people kind of see, like, these are some of the things that, these are examples of two women who've taken on their own transition and really just stopped masking what was already there, I guess.
Yeah. It's truly my pleasure. I have had such a great time. I thank you.
Yes, thank you.